Lena Rossi spent 5 years believing the man she loved had signed her death warrant. She rebuilt her life in the shadows, raising 4 children alone, each one carrying the eyes of the crime boss she fled from. Then one ordinary afternoon, Roman DeLuca walked into her cafe, and her youngest daughter ran straight into his arms. In that frozen moment, he saw the truth she'd hidden. Not one child. 4. All his. The lie that tore them apart is about to explode. The betrayal runs deeper than either of them knows, and someone still wants her dead. If you're hooked, stay until the end to see how this unfolds. Hit that like button and comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Oh, the cafe smelled like cinnamon and espresso, the kind of warmth that made people linger even after their cups ran empty. Lena Rossi moved behind the counter with practiced efficiency, her dark hair pulled back in a loose bun, a few strands escaping to frame her face. She'd opened Rossi's Corner 3 years ago in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of the city, far enough from the center to feel safe, close enough to civilization that her children could have normal lives. Normal. The word tasted bitter even in her thoughts. Nothing about the last 5 years had been normal. "Mom! Raphael took my colored pencils again," Celine's voice carried from the corner table where Lena's children did homework after school. "Did not!" Raphael shot back, his dark eyes flashing with indignation. At 9 years old, he was the eldest by 4 minutes and took the responsibility seriously, sometimes too seriously. "Give them back, Raph." Lena didn't look up from the espresso machine. She'd learned to moderate disputes while multitasking. Survival skill number 47 in the Handbook of Single Motherhood. Caden, quieter than his siblings, kept his head down over a math worksheet. Bella, the youngest at 4.5, sat cross-legged on a chair that was too big for her, carefully coloring a picture of a dragon with fierce concentration. 4 children. Quadruplets. The miracle that had both saved and destroyed her. The bell above the door chimed and Lena called out her standard greeting without looking. "Welcome to Rossi's Corner. I'll be right with you." She finished steaming the milk, poured it into a waiting cup with practiced precision, and turned toward the counter with her customer service smile firmly in place. The smile died. The cup slipped from her fingers. It shattered against the tile floor, hot liquid spreading in a dark puddle. But Lena couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but stare at the man standing inside her cafe. Roman DeLuca. 5 years. 5 years of hiding, running, building a life from ashes and fear. 5 years of looking over her shoulder, of teaching her children to be cautious, of sleeping with a gun under her pillow and an escape plan in her mind. And now he was here. He looked exactly the same and completely different all at once. The same sharp jawline, the same broad shoulders that filled out his expensive suit like it had been designed specifically for him, which it probably had. The same dark hair, though there might have been a touch more silver at the temples. But his eyes, those steel-gray eyes that had once looked at her with tenderness, were harder now, colder. The eyes of a man who'd learned not to trust. Roman stood frozen in the doorway, his hand still on the handle. For a moment, neither of them moved. The cafe seemed to shrink around them, the sounds of the espresso machine and the children's chatter fading into white noise. "Lena." Her name on his lips was barely a whisper, but it carried the weight of 5 years of unanswered questions. She couldn't speak. Her throat had closed completely. His eyes moved past her, scanning the cafe with the automatic assessment of someone who'd spent his life calculating threats and exits. They landed on the children, and stopped. Lena watched his face change, watched the precise moment recognition hit him like a physical blow. His eyes widened almost imperceptibly, the only sign of shock a man like Roman DeLuca would allow himself in public. "Mommy, you dropped the cup." Bella's small voice broke the spell. And then, before Lena could move or speak or even process what was happening, Bella slid down from her chair and ran straight toward Roman. "No!" The word tore from Lena's throat, but it was too late. Bella stopped directly in front of Roman, tilting her head back to look up at him with curious eyes. "Hi, are you a customer? Mommy makes really good hot chocolate. I help sometimes, but only with the whipped cream because the machine is too hot for kids." Roman stared down at the small girl, and Lena saw his hand tremble, actually tremble, before he clenched it into a fist at his side. Those eyes. Bella had his eyes. The same unusual gray, the same intensity even in a 4-year-old's face. Bella, come here, Lena's voice cracked. Right now. But Bella was already turning back toward her siblings, her small hand reaching out to grab Roman's fingers with the fearless trust of a child who'd never learned to be afraid of strangers. These are my brothers and my sister, she announced proudly, tugging Roman forward like she'd captured a prize. That's Raphael. He's bossy. And Caden, he's smart. And Celine, she draws really good. We're quadruplets. Do you know what that means? Roman allowed himself to be pulled forward 3 steps before he stopped, his body rigid with shock. His eyes moved from child to child with methodical precision. Raphael, who'd looked up from his homework with the wary suspicion that Lena had taught all her children. Dark hair, gray eyes, the stubborn set to his jaw that was pure DeLuca. Caden, quieter but watchful, his expression analytical even at 9 years old. Same eyes, same sharp intelligence. Celine, with her art supplies spread across the table, her face a feminine version of Raphael's. Same coloring, same intense gaze. And Bella, still holding Roman's hand, looking up at him like he was just another friendly adult in her small, safe world. 4 children, all of them unmistakably his. The silence stretched so long that even the children noticed. Raphael stood up slowly, positioning himself between Roman and his siblings with an instinct that broke Lena's heart. 9 years old and already protective, already learning to assess threats. Mom? Raphael's voice carried a question and a warning. Roman's face had gone completely blank. The expression Lena remembered from his world, from the dangerous part of his life she'd once been foolish enough to think she could navigate. It was the face he wore when making impossible decisions, when calculating odds, when preparing for war. Get out! Lena's voice was steady despite the terror flooding her veins. Her hand moved to the pocket of her apron where she kept her phone. One button would dial 911. Another would alert the security system she'd had installed after the first year, the panic button that would bring the police and lock down the building. Not that police would help much against Roman DeLuca. Roman's eyes snapped to hers, and for a moment she saw past the cold exterior to the man underneath. The man who'd once held her like she was precious, who'd promised her forever, who'd signed the order for her execution. Lena. His voice was rough, barely controlled. We need to talk. We have nothing to talk about. Leave, now. Please. The word sounded foreign coming from him. Roman DeLuca didn't beg, didn't plead. 5 minutes, just... His eyes moved back to the children, and something cracked in his expression. Please. Bella was still holding his hand, her small fingers wrapped around 2 of his larger ones. She looked between her mother and the stranger with growing confusion. Why is Mommy scared? Bella asked, her voice small. That question, the innocent perception that cut through every defense, made Roman's eyes close briefly. When they opened again, they were fixed on Lena with an intensity that made her step backward. Kids, Lena said, her voice shaking now, go to the back room, right now. Mom, Raphael started to protest. Now, Raphael, take your siblings. Lock the door. Don't come out until I tell you. Raphael's eyes moved between his mother and Roman, clearly calculating whether he should obey. At 9 years old, he was already too familiar with his mother's fear. He gathered his siblings with quiet efficiency, though Bella resisted, not understanding why she had to leave. But he seems nice, Bella protested as Raphael pulled her toward the back. The door closed. The lock clicked. Lena and Roman faced each other across the empty cafe. 4 children, Roman said finally, his voice hollow. You had my children, and you didn't tell me. The accusation in his tone ignited something fierce in Lena's chest. Tell you? Tell the man who ordered my execution? Tell the father who signed the papers to have me killed while I was carrying his babies? I never... Roman's control slipped, his voice rising. He caught himself, visibly reining in his emotion. I never ordered your death. Lena laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Don't you dare stand in my cafe and lie to me. I saw the paperwork, Roman. Your signature, your seal, the execution order with my name on it. It was forged. Forged. She shook her head, the old grief and rage bubbling up despite 5 years of trying to bury it. Your signature, your private seal. The seal you told me you never let out of your sight. That was forged? Yes. Stop lying. I'm not lying. Roman's fist came down on the counter hard enough to make the register jump. Someone set us up, Lena. Someone wanted you gone and wanted me to take the fall for it. 5 years, Lena whispered, her eyes burning. 5 years I've been running, hiding, raising our children alone because I thought, her voice broke. I thought you wanted me dead. I thought you'd found out about the pregnancy and decided I was a liability. Never. Roman's voice was fierce now, all pretense of control abandoned. Never, Lena. You were everything. Then why? The question tore out of her. Why did your men come for me that night? Why did I have to run for my life? What men? What are you talking about? The night I disappeared. 3 of your men came to my apartment. They had guns, Roman, suppressors. They weren't there to talk. The memory still made her hands shake. I barely got out. If I hadn't left early for a doctor's appointment, if I'd been home when they arrived, Roman's face had gone white. I never sent men to your apartment. They were yours. I recognized 2 of them from your organization. Who? Give me names. Marcus Volkov, and the younger one, Danny something, and a third man I didn't recognize. Roman pulled out his phone, his fingers moving rapidly across the screen. Marcus Volkov has been dead for 4 years, killed in a warehouse fire that I now suspect wasn't an accident. Danny Ricci disappeared 3 years ago. I thought he'd flipped to a rival family. His eyes met hers, dark with a realization that seemed to physically pain him. Someone's been cleaning house, eliminating witnesses. Witnesses to what? To framing me for trying to kill you. Roman set his phone down carefully, like he didn't trust what he might do with it otherwise. Think about it, Lena. If I wanted you dead, why would I use my own men? Why would I leave a paper trail? Why would I sign an execution order? Because you're powerful enough that you don't have to hide it. Because in your world, no one questions Roman DeLuca. In my world, loose ends get people killed. If I'd wanted you gone... He stopped, seeing her flinch. I didn't. I would never. But if I had, it would have looked like an accident, untraceable, clean. His voice dropped. Not my signature on official paperwork like a goddamn amateur. Lena wanted to argue, but his logic was sound. Roman was nothing if not methodical. Careful. The execution order had been almost theatrical in its directness, not his style at all. Then who? She asked. I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. Roman's eyes moved toward the back room where the children were hidden. How old are they? 4.5? Born when? August 17th. Roman did the math silently, and Lena saw the moment he realized. You were already pregnant when you ran. 2 months. I didn't know until after I disappeared. Found out at a free clinic in Nebraska. Nebraska? He said it like the word tasted foreign. You were in Nebraska? For a while. Then Colorado. Then Arizona. Then here. She'd moved every few months that first year, terrified that staying in one place too long would get her killed. I didn't stop running until they were born. Couldn't afford to after that. 4 babies, no family, no money, no identity that wasn't fake. You should have contacted me. The absolute audacity of that statement made Lena's vision blur with rage. You wanted me dead. I didn't. No, you were alive. Each word was precisely enunciated, carrying a weight that finally made Lena pause. You vanished, Lena. Completely. One day you were there, and the next, nothing. Your apartment looked like you'd left in a hurry. No forwarding address? No trace? I thought... He stopped, his jaw clenching. You thought what? I thought you'd played me. Used me for access and information, and then disappeared with everything you'd learned about my operation. When the execution order surfaced, I thought it was fake, someone trying to make me look unstable, like I'd killed my girlfriend in a jealous rage. I had people investigate. They found financial records showing you'd been paid by the Marchetti family. Bank transfers, encrypted communications, evidence of espionage. Lena stared at him. That's insane. I worked at a library. I shelved books and processed interlibrary loans and helped kids with their homework. The evidence was convincing enough that half my captains wanted your head on a pike. I protected you even after you were gone. Told them the intelligence was compromised, that someone was trying to divide us. I spent months searching for you, not to kill you, to find out the truth, to bring you home. I didn't have a home anymore. You made sure of that. I didn't. Roman stopped himself, clearly fighting for control. When he spoke again, his voice was calmer. We were both played, Lena. Someone wanted you gone and wanted me to look guilty. Someone who benefited from tearing us apart. Who would benefit from that? I can think of half a dozen rival families who'd love to see me distracted or emotionally compromised. Another dozen people inside my own organization who'd benefit from me looking weak or unstable. His eyes were hard now, calculating. But someone who could forge my signature? Access my private seal? Plant financial evidence and send my own men after you? That's not an outsider. That's someone close. The realization settled over both of them like ice water. Someone in your inner circle, Lena said slowly. Someone I trust, or trusted. Roman's hand flexed at his side. The only outward sign of the rage Lena knew was building inside him. Someone who's been playing a long game. 5 years is a hell of a long game. 5 years of me believing you betrayed me. 5 years of you believing I wanted you dead. 5 years of... His eyes moved toward the back room again, and for the first time, Lena saw genuine emotion break through his control. 5 years of my children growing up without me. They're my children. They're ours. The possessiveness in his tone made Lena's spine stiffen. You can hate me, Lena. You can believe I'm lying about everything, but those 4 kids back there, they're DeLucas. They have my blood, my eyes, and now that I know they exist, now that I've seen them... He stepped closer, and Lena instinctively moved back. I'm not walking away. You don't have a choice. Neither do you. Because whoever set us up 5 years ago, they're going to realize I've found you. And when they do, all of you become targets. The words hit Lena like a physical blow. No, we're safe here. I've been careful. I've covered my tracks. For 5 years, yes. But I found you, Lena. How long do you think it'll take my enemies to do the same now that I'm here? Roman pulled out his phone again, typing rapidly. I'm putting a security detail on this building. Rotating shifts. 4 men minimum. Absolutely not. It's not optional. You can't just walk back into my life and start giving orders. Someone tried to kill you 5 years ago and might try again. Someone murdered witnesses and forged evidence. Someone orchestrated an entire conspiracy to tear us apart, and we still don't know why. Roman's voice was flat, factual, terrifying in its certainty. Those 4 children are the children of Roman DeLuca. The moment that information gets out, and it will get out, they become leverage. Kidnapping targets. Bargaining chips. Lena felt sick. She'd spent 5 years building a safe life, a quiet life, and in 5 minutes, Roman had torn down every illusion of safety she'd constructed. I can protect them, she said, but the words sounded hollow even to her own ears. You've done an incredible job. You've kept them safe and healthy and happy despite impossible odds. But this isn't random danger, Lena. This is my world. And in my world, children are weapons. Then we'll run again. We'll disappear. And go where? Do what? Live your whole lives looking over your shoulder? Roman's expression softened slightly, the first genuine emotion breaking through. They deserve better than that. You deserve better than that. What I deserved was honesty, trust, a father for my children who wouldn't put them in danger just by existing. The barb hit home. Roman's face tightened, but he didn't back down. I can't change who I am, what I am, but I can protect you, all of you. I have resources, safe houses, security measures that put targets on our backs. The target is already there. It's been there since the day you got pregnant with my children. The only question is whether you face it alone or let me help you. Lena opened her mouth to argue, but the lock on the back room clicked. The door opened a crack and Raphael peered out, his face tight with worry that no 9-year-old should have to carry. Mom? You okay? Before Lena could answer, Roman spoke. She's fine. I'm not going to hurt your mother. Raphael's eyes narrowed with suspicion. That was far too familiar, far too much like looking in a mirror. Who are you? The question hung in the air. Lena saw Roman struggle with it, saw the emotions warring across his face: anger, grief, determination, and something that looked almost like fear. "My name is Roman," he said finally, his voice rough. He stopped, his eyes finding Lena's, asking permission he had no right to request. "He's leaving," Lena said firmly. "Right now." "Mom, Raphael, take your siblings to Mrs. Chen's apartment upstairs. Pack overnight bags, now." Raphael's eyes widened. "We're running again?" The question, asked with the weary resignation of a child who'd done this before, made Roman's entire body go rigid. "No," Roman said, his voice carrying absolute authority. "You're not running." "You don't get to decide that," Lena shot back. "I just did. Raphael, that's your name, right?" Roman crouched down, bringing himself to eye level with the boy. Raphael nodded warily. "Your mother has been very brave. She's kept you safe through incredible circumstances. But she's not alone anymore, do you understand?" "No." "I'm going to make sure nothing happens to your family, to any of you." "Why?" It was such a simple question, such a devastating question. Roman's throat worked as he swallowed hard. "Because you're mine to protect." "We don't need your protection. We have Mom." Pride flashed across Roman's face so quickly, Lena almost missed it. "Your mother is remarkable, but everyone needs backup, even the strong ones." Raphael considered this with the seriousness of someone 3 times his age. Then, "If you hurt her, I'll kill you." The threat from a 9-year-old should have been absurd. Instead, Roman smiled, a real smile, the first Lena had seen since he'd walked through the door. "If I hurt her, you'll have earned the right to try. Deal?" Raphael studied him for a long moment, then nodded once and retreated back into the room with his siblings. Roman stood, and when his eyes met Lena's, they carried a determination that terrified her. "We need to talk, really talk. But not here, not now. My security team will be here in 10 minutes. They'll watch the cafe while we move somewhere safer." "I'm not going anywhere with you." "Then I'm not leaving. Your choice, Lena. We can discuss this like adults at a secure location where our children aren't in potential danger, or I can have my men set up a perimeter here and we can have this conversation in your cafe while every customer who walks in becomes a potential threat assessment. You're blackmailing me. I'm protecting my family. There's a difference. They're not your family. You don't know them. You haven't earned them." The words landed like physical blows, and Lena saw Roman absorb each one. "You're right," he said quietly. "I haven't, but I'm going to, starting now." Before Lena could respond, the bell above the door chimed again. A customer, middle-aged woman, yoga clothes, carrying a reusable shopping bag, stepped inside with a friendly smile. "Hi, are you still open? I'd love a latte if you have time." Lena forced a smile, forced herself to move, forced herself back into the role of friendly cafe owner even though her entire world had just exploded. "Of course. 1 latte coming up." As she moved behind the counter, she felt Roman's eyes on her, felt the weight of 5 years of lies and truth and stolen time pressing down on both of them. The woman chatted pleasantly about the weather while Lena made her drink. Roman stood silent near the window, his phone to his ear, speaking in low tones that Lena couldn't quite hear, giving orders, mobilizing resources, taking control like he'd never left. When the customer left, Lena faced him again. "What happens now?" "Now you pack bags for yourself and the children, essentials only. My men will secure the building and collect anything else you need. And then? Then we go somewhere safe, somewhere I can protect you while we figure out who orchestrated this and why." "Safe where? One of your properties? Surrounded by your men? That's not protection, Roman. That's prison. It's survival, and until we know who we're fighting, it's the best option we have." Lena wanted to argue, wanted to refuse, wanted to grab her children and run like she'd run 5 years ago. But Roman was right about one thing. Running hadn't kept them safe. It had only delayed the inevitable. 1 week, she said finally. "You get 1 week to prove you're not the threat. 1 week to figure out who set us up. After that, if I don't like how things are going, we leave and you don't follow." "No. No. 1 week isn't enough time to unravel a 5-year conspiracy, and I won't agree to let you walk away with my children." "Then we have a problem." "We have several problems. But the biggest one is that someone out there wants at least one of us dead, and I'm not willing to gamble with your lives while we argue about custody arrangements. A black SUV pulled up outside the cafe. Then another. Men in dark suits emerged, their movements precise and professional. Roman's security team, arriving exactly when he'd said they would. Make your choice, Lena. Trust me for now, or fight me while real danger circles closer. Lena looked at the back room where her children waited. Thought about Raphael's two old eyes, Celine's quiet watchfulness, Caden's careful analysis of every situation, Bella's innocent trust. Thought about 5 years of hiding, running, being afraid. Thought about the execution order with Roman's signature. Thought about the way his hand had trembled when Bella took it. If this is a trap, she said quietly, if you're lying and this is all some elaborate game, it's not. I will burn your entire world down. I will expose every secret, destroy every alliance, and make sure you lose everything that matters. Do you understand me? Roman's eyes met hers with absolute certainty. Completely. And if I'm lying, you'll have earned that right. Lena took a deep breath, released it slowly, made a choice that terrified her. 1 month, not a week. I'm not naive enough to think we can solve this in 7 days. But 1 month. We find out who set us up, we neutralize the threat, and then we discuss what happens next. With lawyers, and mediators, and everything official. Agreed. And you don't get to make parenting decisions without consulting me. You don't get to override my authority with the kids. You don't get to play dad without putting in the work to actually be one. Fair. And if you do anything to make them feel unsafe or afraid, the deal is off, and we disappear so thoroughly you'll never find us again. Roman nodded slowly. Understood. Are we done negotiating? For now. Then pack. We leave in 20 minutes. Lena moved toward the back room, her heart hammering. This was either the smartest or stupidest decision she'd ever made. She had a feeling she'd find out soon enough which one it was. The safe house sat 30 miles outside the city, hidden behind a wall of pine trees and electronic security that would make a military base jealous. Lena had watched the landscape change through the SUV's tinted windows, urban sprawl giving way to suburbs, then rural roads, then finally this. Isolation dressed up as protection. Raphael sat beside her in rigid silence, his hand gripping hers so tightly her fingers had gone numb. Celine pressed against her other side, sketchpad clutched to her chest like armor. Caden had his nose buried in a book, but his eyes hadn't moved from the same page in 20 minutes. And Bella? Bella sat in the front passenger seat next to Roman, asking 1,000 questions that he answered with surprising patience. Do you have kids? Bella asked, her legs swinging because they didn't quite reach the floor. Roman's hands tightened on the steering wheel. I do now. How many? 4. That's a lot. Are they nice? I'm still getting to know them. Bella considered this with the seriousness only a 4-year-old could muster. Well, I'm nice. Raphael's bossy, but he's nice too when he's not being a know-it-all. Caden's the nicest, but he doesn't talk much. And Celine draws really good pictures, and she always shares her snacks. Bella, Lena said quietly, let Mr. DeLuca concentrate on driving. He said I could call him Roman. Bella turned in her seat to look at her mother. Is that okay? No, nothing about this was okay. But Lena forced a smile. If he said so. The SUV behind them, carrying 4 of Roman's security team, maintained a precise distance. Professional, practiced. The kind of formation that suggested they'd done this before, protecting assets, moving targets, keeping threats at bay. Her children were now assets requiring protection. The thought made Lena's stomach turn. Almost there, Roman said, his eyes meeting hers in the rearview mirror. 3 minutes later, they pulled through a gate that looked deceptively simple, but probably cost more than Lena's Café. The house beyond was large, but not ostentatious. Modern design, lots of windows, the kind of place that belonged on an architecture magazine cover. It's pretty, Celine whispered, her first word since they'd left the city. It's temporary, Lena reminded her. 1 month, remember? Roman killed the engine but didn't immediately exit the vehicle. Instead, he turned in his seat to face the children. I know this is strange. I know you don't know me and you're probably scared, but I need you to understand something. His eyes moved from face to face, lingering on each child. This house has security systems that will keep you safe. The men who followed us will take shifts watching the perimeter. Nothing gets in or out without my knowledge. You're going to be okay here. Why do we need guards if we're safe? Caden asked, finally looking up from his book. Smart kid. Roman's expression acknowledged the tactical question. Because safe is something you maintain, not something you assume. The guards make sure safe stays safe. Are bad people coming? Bella's voice had gone small. Not if I can help it. But maybe? Roman's jaw tightened. He looked at Lena, silently asking how much truth to share. She gave him a nearly imperceptible nod. These were her children, but they'd lived with uncertainty before. They could handle honest answers better than comfortable lies. Maybe, Roman said, but if they do, they'll have to go through me first, and I'm very good at my job. What's your job? Raphael's tone carried challenge and suspicion. Keeping people safe. By hurting other people? The question hit its mark. Roman didn't flinch, but Lena saw the impact in his eyes. Sometimes, when there's no other choice. Mom says violence is never the answer. Your mother is right. Violence should always be the last option. But last option doesn't mean no option. Roman held Raphael's stare. I won't lie to you. I've done things I'm not proud of, made choices that kept people alive but cost other things. But I have never, not once, hurt someone who didn't pose a direct threat. And I will never hurt your family. That's a promise. Raphael studied him for a long moment, then looked at his mother. Do you believe him? Every eye in the vehicle turned to Lena. The weight of that question, the trust it represented, the fear behind it, nearly broke her. I don't know yet, she said honestly, but I believe he thinks he's telling the truth. That's not the same thing. No, it's not, but it's where we're starting. Raphael nodded slowly, accepting the reality if not approving of it. Okay, 1 month. 1 month? Lena confirmed. They exited the vehicle into crisp evening air that smelled like pine and rain. The security team had already established positions, 2 at the gate, 2 near the house, their presence obvious enough to deter but subtle enough not to frighten. Inside, the house was exactly what Lena expected. Expensive, tasteful, impersonal. The kind of place designed to be comfortable for anyone and meaningful to no one. A safe house in every sense of the word. 4 bedrooms upstairs, Roman said, carrying their hastily packed bags. Bathroom between each pair. The kids can share or have their own space, whatever makes them comfortable. They'll share, Lena said. Raphael and Caden in one room, Celine and Bella in another, close enough to protect each other if needed. Old habits from their running days. Roman's expression suggested he understood exactly why she'd made that choice. I'll take the master suite on the first floor. You can have the guest room next to the kids or next to the kids. Right. Kitchen's fully stocked. There's a den with games and books. Secure Wi-Fi but no social media. Not until we know who we're dealing with. Backyard is fenced and monitored. The kids can play outside during the day, but always with supervision. He was reciting rules like a checklist, trying to establish order in chaos. Lena recognized the strategy because she'd done the same thing 5 years ago, creating structure to mask fear. Raphael, take your siblings upstairs and pick rooms, Lena said. Unpack a little. We'll order dinner in an hour. We're allowed to leave the rooms? Raphael's question carried echoes of previous safe houses, previous rules, previous fears. This isn't prison, Roman said firmly. This is protection. You can move around the house freely. Just stay inside for tonight while my team does a full security sweep of the property. Raphael nodded and herded his siblings toward the stairs. Bella looked back once, waving at Roman with fingers that still carried purple marker stains from her coloring earlier. Roman waved back, and the simple gesture looked foreign on him, unpracticed. When the children disappeared upstairs, the silence between Lena and Roman became heavy, with 5 years of unspoken accusations. We need to talk, he said. I know. The den has more privacy. Lena followed him through an archway into a room dominated by floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a forest that seemed to stretch forever. Roman closed the door behind them. Not locked, she noticed, just closed, giving them privacy but not trapping her. Small consideration. It probably shouldn't have mattered. It did. Tell me everything, Roman said, lowering himself into a leather chair that probably cost more than her monthly cafe revenue. From the beginning, the execution order, the men who came for you, everything. Lena remained standing, arms crossed, maintaining distance. Why? So you can find holes in my story? So I can find the truth. 5 years ago, someone went to extraordinary lengths to tear us apart. I need to understand exactly what happened from your perspective. My perspective is that the man I loved signed my death warrant. Show me. What? The execution order. You said you saw it. Do you still have it? Lena hesitated, then pulled out her phone. She'd photographed the document 5 years ago before running, needing proof that she wasn't crazy, that the danger was real. Her hands shook as she pulled up the image and handed Roman the phone. He studied it in silence, his face completely unreadable. Minutes passed. Finally. This is good. Whoever forged this knew what they were doing. It's your signature. It's a perfect copy of my signature, but look here. He zoomed in on a detail Lena had never noticed. The seal is slightly off-center, maybe 2 millimeters. I'm obsessive about placement, always have been. Anyone who knows me would know that. That's your evidence, 2 millimeters? It's a tell, like a poker player with a nervous habit, small enough that most people wouldn't notice, but clear enough for someone who knows what to look for. He zoomed in further. And the paper stock is wrong. This is standard security paper. I use custom stock with embedded authentication markers. Again, subtle, but wrong. Or you're lying to me right now. Roman looked up from the phone, his eyes hard. I could be. You have no way to verify what I'm saying. You're going to have to decide whether to trust me based on incomplete information and a lot of history that suggests you shouldn't. He handed back the phone. But ask yourself this. If I wanted you and the children under my control, why would I need to lie? I could have just taken you, forced you into a vehicle, locked you in this house without negotiation. Because you need me compliant, not terrified. Because kidnapping your own children looks bad even by crime boss standards. Fair point. Roman leaned back in his chair, studying her. So let's try a different approach. What would it take for you to believe me? Proof. Real proof. The person who forged that signature. The reason why. Something concrete that isn't just your word against a document I've been running from for 5 years. Then that's what we'll find. But I need information from you first. The men who came to your apartment, you said Marcus Volkov and Danny Ricci. Did they say anything, give any indication of who sent them? Lena closed her eyes, forcing herself back to that night. The worst night of her life, before she'd even known about the pregnancy. They didn't knock. They picked the lock. I heard them from the bedroom. I'd fallen asleep early, wasn't feeling well. Morning sickness, though I didn't know it then. Their voices woke me. What did they say? Marcus said something about making it look natural. But Danny argued, said they should just finish it quick and get out. The third man told them both to shut up and follow the plan. What plan? They didn't specify, but they were arguing about method, not objective. They all knew why they were there. The memory made her throat tight. I grabbed my go bag. I always kept one packed, paranoid habit from growing up, and went out the fire escape. Heard them break into the bedroom maybe 30 seconds later. You're sure they were there to kill you? Not kidnap, not question. Marcus said, make it look natural. What else could that mean? Roman's jaw clenched. 6 things in my world, most of them bad. But you're probably right. He pulled out his phone, typed something rapidly. I'm having my people dig into Marcus and Danny's final assignments, financial records, communications. If someone hired them off book, there'll be traces. 5 years is a long time. Trails go cold. Not if you know where to look. And I have resources most people don't. He set the phone aside. Tell me about the execution order. Where did you see it? Who showed it to you? This was the part Lena had never fully understood. It was delivered to my apartment. Plain manila envelope, no return address, just the document inside with your signature and seal. Delivered by who? I don't know. It was in my mailbox when I got home from work. Convenient timing. You receive a death threat, and that same night men come to kill you. Roman's eyes narrowed. Someone wanted to make absolutely sure you ran. Wanted you scared enough that you wouldn't stop to question, wouldn't reach out to me, wouldn't try to verify. It worked. Because it was designed to work. Because whoever orchestrated this knew you, knew me, knew exactly what buttons to push to make us both react predictably. The implication settled over Lena like ice water. Someone close to both of us. Very close. Someone who knew our relationship, knew your address, knew my security protocols well enough to forge documents, knew my organization well enough to borrow men from my roster. Roman stood pacing to the window. That's a very short list of people. How short? My inner circle. Maybe 10 people total who have that level of access and information. 10 suspects isn't exactly narrow. It is when 5 of them are dead, 2 have been with me since childhood, and the other 3 are family. Lena's breath caught. Family. My father died 2 years ago, heart attack. My mother lives in Sicily, hasn't been involved in operations in decades. Which leaves... Roman stopped pacing, his entire body going rigid. My brother. You have a brother? Adrien, younger by 3 years, ambitious, calculating, always looking for angles to increase his position in the organization. Roman's voice had gone flat, emotionless in the way that meant he was feeling too much. 5 years ago, he was pushing for more responsibility. Wanted to oversee operations I'd kept him away from. We fought about it. He'd have motive to discredit you. He'd have motive to destroy me, remove me from power entirely, and making me look unstable, making it seem like I'd killed my pregnant girlfriend in a paranoid rage. That would do it. But you said the execution order surfaced. Your people saw it. After you disappeared, Adrien was the one who discovered it during the investigation into your vanishing. Said he'd found it in my private office, hidden like I'd tried to cover my tracks. Roman's fists clenched. I told my captains it was fake, forced them to accept my word, but the doubt was there. The question of whether Roman DeLuca had become unstable, emotional, compromised. Did it work? Did he gain power? He gained influence, became my second in command while I was distracted searching for you, trying to prove I wasn't losing my mind. Consolidated his own network within the organization, and then... Roman's eyes went distant, calculating. And then he stopped pushing, settled into his role, became the loyal lieutenant again. Because he'd already won, Lena said slowly, understanding dawning. He didn't need to push anymore. You'd given him what he wanted while you were vulnerable, and he spent 5 years building on that foundation, strengthening his position, waiting. Roman turned from the window, his face carved from stone. If he orchestrated your disappearance, he knew you were pregnant, had to know. Which means he's known about my children for 5 years and said nothing. Why wouldn't he tell you? Use them as leverage. Because children are complications, liabilities, weaknesses in my armor. Roman's voice dropped to something dangerous. Better to let me believe you'd betrayed me. Better to let those children grow up hidden, unknown, while he consolidated power. And then what? Then wait for the right moment to reveal them. Use them as proof that Roman DeLuca was careless, reckless, had secret children he didn't even know about. Further evidence of instability. Perfect ammunition for a coup. The logic was sound, horrifying, but sound. So what do we do? Lena asked. We confirm it first. I'm not moving against my own brother on theory. Roman pulled out his phone again. I have people who can dig into Adrien's finances, communications, movements from 5 years ago. If he hired Marcus and Danny, there'll be proof. If he forged that execution order, there'll be traces. And if we confirm it? Roman's eyes met hers, and for the first time since he'd walked into her cafe, Lena saw the full weight of who he was. Not the father trying to connect with his children, not the man who'd loved her once, but Roman DeLuca, head of a criminal organization, capable of making impossible choices. Then I deal with it, he said quietly. Family or not. Before Lena could respond, footsteps thundered down the stairs. Raphael appeared in the doorway, his face pale. Someone's at the gate, he said. The guards are talking to him. He says his name is Adrien, and he's here to see his brother. Roman's expression didn't change, but Lena saw his hand move instinctively toward his hip, where she knew he carried a weapon. How did he know we were here? This is your safe house. Maybe it's not that safe. No. Roman's voice was sharp. This property is registered under a shell corporation 3 layers deep, Adrien shouldn't know about it unless... He stopped. Unless someone on my security team told him. The implication was clear. If Adrien had turned one of Roman's men, nowhere was truly safe. Stay here with the children, Roman said, already moving toward the door. Lock it behind me. Don't open it for anyone except me. Roman, he paused, looking back at her. If something happens, there's a panic room behind the bookshelf in the master bedroom. Press the third book on the second shelf. It'll seal automatically. The security system will alert my main detail. They'll come for you. What are you going to do? Talk to my brother. Find out why he's here and how he knew where to find us. Roman's hand rested briefly on Lena's shoulder, a touch so quick she almost missed it. Trust the protocol. Trust the security. Don't trust anyone else. Then he was gone, his footsteps receding toward the front of the house. Lena locked the den door and turned to find all 4 children watching her with wide eyes. They'd learned to read her fear over the years, had developed an instinct for danger that no child should need. Is the bad man here? Bella whispered. Lena knelt down, gathering her youngest into a hug. I don't know yet, baby, but Roman's going to handle it. You called him Roman, Celine observed, not Mr. DeLuca. Did I? Lena hadn't even noticed. Are you starting to trust him? Caden asked, his analytical mind already processing the implications. I'm starting to want to, Lena admitted, but wanting to trust someone and actually trusting them are different things. He knew about the panic room, Raphael said. He was prepared for this, like he expected trouble. People in his world always expect trouble. Are we in his world now? The question hung in the air, unanswerable and terrifying. Through the window, Lena could see Roman walking toward the gate where a figure waited. Even from this distance, she could see the family resemblance. Same build, same confident stance. Brothers. One who'd allegedly orchestrated a 5-year conspiracy, and one who was trying to protect the collateral damage from that conspiracy. The 2 men faced each other across the iron gate. Lena couldn't hear their conversation, but she could read the body language. Adrien casual, almost amused. Roman rigid with controlled anger. Then Adrien said something that made Roman's entire posture change. Something that made him step closer to the gate, his hand definitely moving to his weapon now. Mom? Raphael's voice carried worry. Should we go to the panic room? Lena watched Roman and Adrien, watched the security team positioning themselves with the precision of people expecting violence. Watched the scene unfold like a chess game where she didn't know all the pieces. Not yet, she said, but get your sisters ready just in case. Because the truth she'd learned over 5 years of running was simple. Safety was an illusion. Preparation was survival. And right now, watching the 2 DeLuca brothers face off while her children waited behind a locked door, Lena wasn't sure which one would matter more. Adrien DeLuca smiled like a man who knew exactly how much power he held in any given moment. The expression was familiar. Lena had seen it on Roman's face before, back when they'd first met and he'd been testing her, measuring her worth. But where Roman's confidence carried weight earned through decades of survival, Adrien's felt performative, practiced, dangerous in a different way. You look well, brother, Adrien said, his voice carrying easily across the gate. Considering you disappeared 6 hours ago without telling anyone where you were going. The captains were concerned. The captains don't need to know my every movement. Roman's hand remained near his weapon, not quite touching, but close enough to matter. How did you find this location? I have my resources, same as you. Adrien's eyes drifted past Roman toward the house, and Lena instinctively stepped back from the window, pulling the children with her. Though I have to admit, I'm curious what warranted bringing her here, after all these years. The casual mention of her made Lena's blood run cold. Adrien knew, had probably always known. Roman's voice dropped to something lethal. Careful. Oh, come on. You think I didn't know you'd been searching for Lena Rossi? That I didn't track every PI you hired, every lead you followed, every dead end you hit? Adrien laughed, the sound carrying genuine amusement. I've known where she was for 3 years, Roman. Little cafe on the east side, 4 kids, living quiet. I wondered how long it would take you to stumble across her yourself. 3 years. He'd known for 3 years and said nothing. Roman's entire body had gone deadly still, the kind of stillness that preceded violence. You knew. Of course I knew. Knowledge is leverage, and leverage is power. Adrien shifted his weight, still casual, still confident. The question is, what are you going to do about it now? Why are you here, Adrien? To offer you a deal, because believe it or not, I don't actually want to destroy you. You're my brother. Family matters. The words sounded sincere, but Lena had learned to read lies over 5 years of survival. Adrien was performing, every word calculated for maximum impact. What deal? Walk away. From her. From the children. Go back to the city, tell the captains you made a mistake, that the woman from your past isn't worth the complications she brings. I'll handle the cleanup, make sure she and the kids stay safe, stay hidden, stay out of our world entirely. You'll handle it. Roman's voice was flat. Like you handled Marcus Volkov? Like you handled Danny Ricci? Adrien's smile didn't falter, but something shifted in his eyes. I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't insult my intelligence. The forged execution order, the men sent to kill her, the 5 years of manipulation and lies. That was all you, wasn't it? Prove it. I will. And when I do, when you do what? Adrien interrupted, his casual mask finally cracking to show the ambition underneath. You'll move against me? Your own brother? In front of the captains who already question your stability? Who watched you spiral after your girlfriend disappeared? Who've seen you make emotional decisions that cost us opportunities and alliances? He leaned closer to the gate, his voice dropping. You think they'll back you in a family conflict? You think they'll choose the brother who's been distracted for 5 years over the one who's been steady, reliable, profitable? The captains follow strength, and I'm still stronger than you. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, you look like a man who just discovered he has 4 secret children. Children who can be used against you. Children who make you vulnerable in ways you've never been before. Adrien's eyes found the house again, and Lena felt his gaze like a physical threat. Walk away, Roman. Keep your power, your position, your empire. Just leave her alone. No. Then you're choosing her over everything you've built, over our family legacy, over your own survival. Adrien straightened, his expression hardening. That's a mistake. That's my choice. And it's going to cost you. Adrien pulled out his phone, typed something quickly, then slid it back into his pocket. I came here in good faith, gave you an out. Now we do this the hard way. Threatening my family is the hard way. I'm not threatening anyone, I'm stating facts. You can't protect them and run an organization. You can't be a father and be Roman DeLuca. Something has to give. And when it does, when you're forced to choose between a PTA meeting and a crisis, between your daughter's birthday and a territorial dispute, between their safety and your empire, you're going to break. Adrien's voice carried absolute certainty. And when you do, I'll be there to pick up the pieces. Roman drew his weapon in one smooth motion, the gun leveled at his brother through the gate's iron bars. The security team immediately raised their own weapons, training them on Adrien. Adrien didn't flinch. Go ahead, shoot your own brother in front of witnesses. See how that plays with the captains. See how long you last after committing fratricide over a woman who ran from you 5 years ago. The standoff stretched, tension coiling like a spring ready to snap. Lena's hand found Raphael's shoulder, holding him close while she calculated distances to the panic room, escape routes, ways to get her children to safety if this exploded into violence. Then Roman lowered his weapon. Get off my property. Gladly. But Roman? Adrien's smile returned, sharp and cold. This isn't over. You've made your choice. Now live with the consequences. He turned and walked back to his car, a sleek black sedan that had been idling 50 feet from the gate. The vehicle pulled away smoothly, disappearing down the tree-lined drive like a shadow retreating from light. Roman stood at the gate for a long moment, his weapon still drawn, his body radiating fury barely held in check. Then he holstered the gun, spoke briefly to his security team, and turned back toward the house. Lena unlocked the den door just as he reached it. His face was carved from granite, every emotion locked down tight. But his eyes carried a storm. He knew, Lena said. It wasn't a question. For 3 years, maybe longer. Roman moved past her into the room, immediately checking sightlines to the windows, assessing vulnerabilities. Old habits, survival instincts. He's been watching you, watching them. Why didn't he tell you? Because telling me would have given me back something he'd taken. Knowledge is power. He wanted to control when and how I found out, wanted to use it as leverage at exactly the right moment. Roman's hand dragged through his hair, the first uncontrolled gesture Lena had seen from him. He played us both. Perfectly. He said he'd been tracking your search for me, which means he knows every move I made, every resource I used, every person I trusted with that information. Roman's eyes met hers, and Lena saw genuine fear there. Not for himself, for them. He has access to my network, my security, my people, which means this house isn't safe. Nowhere in my organization is safe. Then what do? We go off the grid, completely. Somewhere Adrien can't track, can't predict, can't touch. You have somewhere like that? I have one place, a property that's not in any name connected to me or my organization. Purchased through so many shell companies that even I barely remember the chain of ownership. I've never used it, never told anyone about it. It was supposed to be my nuclear option, the place I'd go if everything collapsed. And you're willing to take us there? Roman looked at the children who'd gathered near Lena with the practiced unity of people used to facing threats together. His expression softened almost imperceptibly. You're my nuclear option now, you and them. Everything else is secondary. The captains won't see it that way, Raphael said quietly. The boy had been listening, processing, understanding far too much for his age. If you choose us over your empire, you'll lose both. Roman studied Raphael with something that looked like pride mixing with sorrow. You think like a strategist. I think like someone who's had to protect his family. Raphael's chin lifted. We don't need you to lose everything for us. We've survived on our own before. We can do it again. No. The word was absolute. You've survived because your mother is extraordinary, and you're all stronger than any children should have to be. But you shouldn't have had to survive. You should have been safe, protected, and that's on me. You didn't know we existed, Celine said softly. That's not your fault. It's Adrien's fault, Roman corrected, but it's my responsibility to fix. And I will. Starting with getting you somewhere actually safe. Where, wait? Lena asked. Montana. Remote cabin. Closest neighbor is 15 miles away, off every grid that matters. It's primitive. No cell service, basic electricity from a generator, well water. But it's secure. And it's mine in a way nothing else is. How long would we need to stay there? As long as it takes to build a case against Adrien that even the captains can't ignore. Evidence of the forgery, the murders, the conspiracy. Proof that forces them to choose between justice and loyalty. Roman's expression hardened. I'm not asking you to hide there forever. Just long enough for me to end this. And if you can end it, if Adrien's too entrenched, too powerful, then I'll do what I should have done 5 years ago. Walk away from the organization entirely, take you and the children somewhere new, start over. The offer hung in the air, impossible and tempting and terrifying all at once. You'd give up everything, Lena said slowly. Your power, your position, your entire life. I've already lost 5 years with my children. I'm not losing any more. Empire or family, it's not even a choice. Bella tugged on Roman's jacket, and he looked down at her with an expression Lena was starting to recognize. Careful tenderness, like he was handling something infinitely precious and infinitely fragile. Are you really our dad? Bella asked. The question stopped everything. Roman crouched down, bringing himself to eye level with her. Yes. Were you lost? Is that why you weren't there before? Something like that. Someone very bad made it so I couldn't find you or your mom. But I've found you now. And I'm not going to lose you again. Promise? Roman's throat worked as he swallowed hard. Promise. Bella considered this with the seriousness of someone making a life-changing decision. Then she wrapped her small arms around Roman's neck and hugged him. Lena watched Roman's eyes close, watched his arms come up to hold his daughter with a gentleness that contradicted everything she knew about what he was capable of. Watched this man, this dangerous, powerful, complicated man, break and remake himself around the reality of fatherhood in a single moment. When Bella pulled back, she smiled. Okay, I believe you. Just like that? Roman's voice was rough. Mommy says trust has to start somewhere. Might as well start now. Bella returned to her siblings, apparently satisfied with the answer she'd received. Roman stood slowly, his eyes finding Lena's. The question in them was clear. Did she believe him too? "We'll go to Montana," Lena said instead of answering directly. "But I want weapons, training, exit strategies. I'm not going to hide in a cabin while you wage war against your brother. If we're targets, we need to be able to defend ourselves." "Agreed. I'll arrange it. And I want daily check-ins. If you don't contact me at the agreed time, I'm assuming you're compromised and I'm taking the children somewhere even you can't find." "Fair. And when this is over, when Adrien is dealt with and the threat is neutralized, we're having a real conversation about custody and co-parenting and what happens next. With lawyers, official, legal, whatever you want." The easy agreement made Lena suspicious. "You're being too compliant." "I'm being realistic. You hold all the cards, Lena. You have my children. You have 5 years of evidence that I wasn't there when they needed me. You have every reason to shut me out of their lives completely." Roman's expression was open, honest in a way she'd rarely seen from him. "I'm asking for a chance, that's all. A chance to prove I can be what they need, what you need. I don't need anything from you. You need someone to watch your back while you sleep. You need resources to keep the children safe. You need—" He stopped himself. "You're right. You don't need me. You've proven that. But maybe I can make things easier. Less hard. Is that worth something?" Before Lena could answer, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something made her check. The message was a photo. Her cafe, burning. Flames consumed the building she'd built, the safe space she'd created, the life she'd constructed from nothing. Fire trucks surrounded it, water arcing through the air, doing nothing to stop the destruction. A second message followed. "Should have taken the deal. Now the children see what happens when Daddy makes bad choices." Lena's hand shook so badly she nearly dropped the phone. Roman took it from her, his expression darkening as he read the messages. "Adrien," he said, his voice dead calm in the way that meant he was anything but. "He burned my cafe, my business, everything I built. To prove a point. To show me what he's willing to do." Roman's jaw clenched. "He's escalating." The people inside— Lena's breath caught. "Mrs. Chen lives above the cafe, the college students who study there in the evenings. If anyone was— Look at the timestamp. This happened 30 minutes ago while we were talking. The fire department is already there. If there were casualties, he would have mentioned them. Adrien's many things, but he's not subtle about his victories." Roman pulled out his own phone, dialing rapidly. "I'm having my people check the scene, verify no one was hurt. But Lena, you need to understand what this means. It means he's willing to destroy everything I care about. It means he's declared war, and in war there are no safe spaces, no neutral ground, no civilians." Roman's eyes moved to the children, who were staring at the phone in Lena's hand with varying degrees of understanding. "We leave for Montana tonight, right now. We don't pack, we don't plan, we just go. The security team stays here, maintains the illusion that we're still in residence, buys us time to disappear before Adrien realizes we've moved." Roman was already texting, coordinating, making decisions with the rapid efficiency of someone who'd navigated crises before. "There's a vehicle in the garage. Unregistered, untraceable, fueled and ready. We take that and nothing else." "What about clothes? Supplies?" "We'll buy what we need on the road. Cash only, no credit cards, no electronic trail. Complete communications blackout until we're secure." Caden raised his hand like he was in school. "What about our homework? We have assignments due." The question was so normal, so beautifully mundane, that it almost made Lena laugh hysterically. Her son was worried about homework while their world burned. "I'll write you a note," she said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "I don't think your teachers will argue under the circumstances." "We're really running again?" Raphael's voice carried resignation and something darker. Anger, maybe. Or grief for the stability they'd almost had. "We're really running again," Lena confirmed. "But this time, we're not alone." Roman's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression shifted. "No casualties at the cafe. Building's a total loss, but everyone got out. Mrs. Chen is fine. She was at her daughter's house. The students cleared out when the fire started. It was set during off hours deliberately." "He didn't want to kill anyone," Lena said slowly. "He wanted to make a point without crossing a line that would turn my captains against him. Burning property is aggressive, but explainable. Mass casualties would be harder to justify. Roman's tone carried grudging acknowledgement of his brother's strategy. He's being careful, which makes him more dangerous. How long will it take to get to Montana? 14 hours if we drive straight through, but we won't. We'll take a circuitous route, switch vehicles twice, create a trail that's impossible to follow, call it 36 hours total before we're secure. 36 hours of running, 36 hours of looking over their shoulders, 36 hours of fear. Lena had done it before, could do it again, but her children shouldn't have to. Let's go, she said, gathering Raphael, Caden, Selena, and Bella with practiced efficiency. Everyone use the bathroom now. Grab your coats. Nothing else. Not even my sketch pad? Celine asked, her voice small. I'll buy you a new one. Better one. As many as you want. The promise felt hollow, but Celine nodded, accepting it. They moved through the house like shadows, years of practice making them efficient. Roman watched them with an expression Lena couldn't quite read, something between admiration and heartbreak. The garage held 3 vehicles. Roman led them to a nondescript gray SUV that looked 10 years old and utterly forgettable, perfect for disappearing. Everyone in, he said, opening doors, checking seatbelts with the awkward care of someone learning how to be a father in real time. Comfortable? As comfortable as you can be while fleeing for your life, Raphael muttered, but he helped Bella with her seatbelt anyway. Roman slid into the driver's seat. Lena took the passenger side, her hand instinctively checking for her phone before she realized she'd left it behind. No electronic trail. No way to track them. No way to call for help if they needed it. The garage door opened, revealing darkness beyond. Roman pulled out slowly, lights off, navigating by ambient glow until they'd cleared the property. Only then did he turn on the headlights and accelerate. In the rearview mirror, Lena watched the safe house disappear into trees and shadows. Another place left behind. Another life abandoned. But this time, she wasn't alone. Where are we going first? She asked. Gas station 30 miles west. We'll refuel, grab supplies, assess whether we're being followed. Then we head north, avoiding major highways, staying to rural routes. Roman's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, checking for taillights. There's a motel about 200 miles from here. Small, family-owned, the kind of place that doesn't ask questions if you pay cash. We'll stop there for a few hours, let the kids sleep, then continue before dawn. You've done this before. Once. When I was younger and stupider and thought I could walk away from the family business. His mouth twisted. Obviously, it didn't take. What brought you back? My father died. Adrien was too young to lead. The organization needed stability, and I... Roman paused, choosing words carefully. I thought I owed it to the legacy, to the family name. Turned out what I really owed was my own freedom, but I didn't figure that out until too late. It's never too late. Tell that to the 5 years I missed with my children. The pain in his voice was raw enough that Lena found herself reaching out, her hand covering his on the steering wheel. The touch surprised them both. We can't get those years back, she said quietly, but we can try not to waste the time we have now. Roman's hand turned under hers, his fingers threading through hers with careful deliberation. Is this real? Are you actually giving me a chance? I'm giving us both a chance. To see if we can build something from the wreckage. To see if trust is possible after everything. Lena looked back at the children, who were already starting to doze in the back seat, exhausted by fear and adrenaline. For them, if nothing else. For them, Roman agreed. And maybe, eventually, for us. The admission hung between them, fragile and dangerous and impossibly hopeful. They drove through the night, headlights cutting through darkness, leaving behind a burning cafe and a brother's betrayal and 5 years of lies. Ahead lay Montana and isolation and whatever future they could construct from the present chaos. But for the first time in 5 years, Lena wasn't running alone. And somehow, that made all the difference. The Montana cabin appeared through morning mist like something from another century. Log construction, weathered gray by decades of mountain winters, surrounded by pine trees that stretched toward a sky so vast it made Lena's chest ache. No neighbors. No roads except the rutted track they'd followed for the last 3 miles. No sign that the modern world existed anywhere beyond this isolated pocket of wilderness. Perfect. Or perfectly isolating, depending on perspective. Roman killed the engine, their third vehicle in 36 hours, purchased cash from a farmer in Idaho who'd asked no questions and accepted payment without receipts. The children stirred in the back seat, cramped and exhausted from too many hours confined in too small a space. "We're here," Roman said unnecessarily. Bella pressed her face against the window, breath fogging the glass. "It looks like a fairy tale house." "It looks abandoned," Raphael countered, his practical nature asserting itself even through fatigue. "It's been maintained," Roman said, already scanning the perimeter with the automatic assessment Lena had come to recognize. "I have someone check on it quarterly, make sure the roof's intact, the generator works, pipes haven't frozen. Basic upkeep." "Someone who doesn't know it's yours?" "Someone who thinks he's maintaining property for a wealthy recluse who values privacy. The checks are sent from a trust fund, no connection to me or my organization." Roman opened his door, the mountain air rushing in cold and sharp. "Stay in the vehicle until I've cleared the interior." He moved toward the cabin with his weapon drawn, each step deliberate and controlled. Lena watched him disappear inside, heard the creak of old wood, the sound of doors opening and closing. Minutes passed. The children grew restless. "Is he always this paranoid?" Caden asked. "He's being careful," Lena corrected, though paranoid wasn't entirely wrong. "And given someone just burned down my cafe, careful is appropriate." "Do you think Uncle Adrien knows where we are?" Celine's voice was small, worried. The casual use of Uncle Adrien made Lena's stomach turn. Her daughter had named their enemy, made him family, given him a relationship he'd done nothing to earn. "He's not your uncle," Raphael said sharply. "He's the person who tried to kill Mom." "But he's Roman's brother. That makes him nothing. He's nothing to us." The vehemence in Raphael's tone surprised Lena. Her son had been watching, listening, processing everything with the intensity of someone constructing his own understanding of their circumstances, and apparently he'd chosen a side. Roman emerged from the cabin, holstering his weapon. "Clear. Let's get you inside before you freeze." The interior was basic but functional. Main room with a stone fireplace, kitchen area with a hand pump for well water, 2 small bedrooms separated by a bathroom that featured a composting toilet and a shower fed by a solar water heater. Furniture was minimal: wooden chairs, a table scarred by years of use, beds with thin mattresses and wool blankets. "It's not much," Roman admitted, watching the children explore with the wariness of people assessing their newest hiding place. "We've lived in worse," Lena said, remembering a month in Arizona when they'd stayed in a motel that rented rooms by the hour. "At least this place has character." Character meaning old and cold. Character meaning defensible. One entrance, clear sight lines, surrounded by terrain that makes quiet approach impossible. Lena walked to the window, studying the tree line. "How far to the nearest town?" 43 miles. Population 800. The kind of place where strangers get noticed, but people mind their own business if you don't cause trouble. "Supplies? There's a general store. We'll stock up on essentials tomorrow. For tonight, there's canned goods in the pantry and firewood stacked on the porch." Roman was already moving toward the fireplace, building a fire with practiced efficiency. "I'll get heat going. You settle the kids." The easy division of labor felt simultaneously natural and strange. Lena had spent 5 years making every decision alone, handling every crisis without backup. Having someone else simply step in and handle tasks felt foreign, but not unwelcome. The children claimed the smaller bedroom, predictably choosing to stay together rather than spread out. Lena helped them arrange their few possessions, the pathetic collection of items they'd accumulated during stops along the way. New toothbrushes from a gas station, cheap clothing from a Walmart, a coloring book and crayons Lena had bought for Bella to keep her occupied during long drives. This was their life now, reduced to what could fit in a backpack, what could be carried at a moment's notice, what could be abandoned without regret. "Mom?" Celine sat on one of the beds, her new sketch pad open on her lap. "Are we going to be okay?" The question deserved honesty. "I don't know yet, sweetheart, but we're together and we're safe for now. That's something." Is Roman really going to protect us? Or is he just saying that because we're his kids and he feels like he has to? Lena sat beside her daughter, choosing words carefully. "I think he means it. Whether he can actually do it is a different question, but he's trying. That counts for something. Raphael doesn't trust him. Raphael doesn't trust anyone except us. That's my fault. I taught all of you to be suspicious, to question everything, to never let your guard down completely. Those are good survival skills, but they make it hard to let people in. Do you trust him, Roman? Did she? Lena considered the question seriously, examining her own feelings with the same honesty she was giving her daughter. I trust that he believes what he's telling us. I trust that he wants to be a good father. I trust that he's terrified of failing you. Whether that's enough, I don't know yet. Celine nodded slowly, processing this. Then, I think I like him. Is that okay? The permission seeking in that question broke Lena's heart. Of course it's okay. You're allowed to like him. You're allowed to want a relationship with your father. That doesn't mean you're betraying me or forgetting how hard things have been. But Raphael says Raphael is protecting his family the way he knows how. But there's a difference between being cautious and being closed off completely. We can be careful while still giving Roman a chance to prove himself. What if he can't prove himself? Then we'll deal with that when it happens. But Celine, baby, I don't want you to spend your whole life afraid to trust people. I don't want any of you to carry the weight of my choices, my fears, my mistakes. Loving Roman wasn't a mistake. It gave you us. The simple wisdom of that statement made Lena's throat tight. You're right. You're absolutely right. She hugged her daughter, holding tight, grateful for this child who somehow maintained hope despite everything. When Lena returned to the main room, she found Roman teaching Raphael how to properly check whether a firearm was loaded. The two of them stood near the fireplace, Roman's hands guiding Raphael's through the mechanics of safety and responsibility. Always assume a weapon is loaded until you've personally verified otherwise, Roman said, his voice carrying the weight of hard-learned lessons. Never point it at anything you're not willing to destroy. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. Understand? Raphael nodded, his concentration absolute. This is a Glock 19? Good eye. 9mm, 15-round magazine, one of the most reliable handguns ever made. Roman demonstrated the proper grip. Too big for your hands right now, but in a few years you'll grow into it. You're planning to arm my 9-year-old son? Lena's voice came out sharper than intended. Roman looked up, his expression carefully neutral. I'm planning to teach him how to handle a weapon safely so that if circumstances require it, he won't accidentally kill himself or someone else. There's a difference. He's a child. He's a child who's been running for his life since before he could form memories. A child who positions himself between his siblings and danger. A child who thinks like a tactical operator despite never having formal training. Roman's eyes met hers with quiet intensity. I'm not giving him a gun, Lena. I'm giving him knowledge that might save his life someday. Raphael looked between his parents, because that's what they were now, whether Lena was ready to acknowledge it or not, clearly trying to gauge whether this would become a fight. I want to learn, he said quietly, not because I want to hurt anyone, because I want to protect my family if I have to. The echo of Roman's earlier words wasn't coincidental. Raphael was already absorbing his father's philosophy, already adapting to the reality of their circumstances. Lena wanted to argue, wanted to insist that children shouldn't need to know how to handle weapons, shouldn't have to think about protection and danger and survival. But she'd spent 5 years teaching them exactly those things in different ways, had taught them to watch exits, to recognize threats, to run when necessary. Was this really so different? Fine, she said finally, but safety only. No live ammunition. And everyone learns, all 4 of them. If you're teaching one, you're teaching all of them. Roman's eyebrows rose slightly. Bella's 4. Bella's also the most likely to find something dangerous and pick it up out of curiosity. Better she knows what guns are and why she shouldn't touch them than we leave her ignorant and hope for the best. Fair point. Roman set the Glock aside, making sure Raphael saw him engage the safety and clear the chamber. Tomorrow, we'll do a proper session. For tonight, let's just focus on settling in. The evening passed in strange domestic normalcy. Roman cooked dinner, canned soup and bread, nothing fancy but warm and filling. The children ate on the wooden table, their exhaustion finally catching up with them. Conversation was minimal, everyone too tired for the emotional weight of real discussion. After dinner, Bella climbed into Roman's lap while he sat by the fire. She fell asleep there, her small body trusting in a way that made Roman's hands tremble slightly as he held her. Lena watched from across the room, pretending to organize their supplies, while actually observing this man try to be a father. He was awkward, uncertain, clearly terrified of doing something wrong, but he was trying. Bella's hair had fallen across her face, and Roman gently brushed it back with fingers that could break bones but touched his daughter like she was made of glass. "You're staring," Roman said without looking up. "I'm observing." "There's a difference?" "Observation is analytical. Staring is personal." "Which one are you doing?" Lena considered lying, then decided against it. "Both." Roman's mouth quirked in something almost like a smile. "And what's your analysis?" "You're terrified." Astute observation. "But you're not running from it. Most men would. Most men don't have 4 children they didn't know existed suddenly dropped into their lives because of a brother's conspiracy." Roman's voice was dry, but his arms tightened fractionally around Bella. "Running isn't an option. Not anymore. It's always an option. You could walk away. Tell yourself they're better off without you, that I can handle it alone, that your world is too dangerous for children." "Would they be better off without me?" The question hung heavy in the firelit room. Lena came closer, studying Roman's face in the dancing light, seeing not the crime boss, not the dangerous man who'd built an empire on violence and fear, but the father holding his sleeping daughter like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. "I don't know yet," she admitted. "Ask me again in a month." "That's fair." Roman looked down at Bella, his expression softening into something Lena had never seen on his face before. Pure, unguarded love. "She called me Dad today, before she fell asleep. Just said it casually, like it was the most natural thing in the world. 'Good night, Dad.' And I—" His voice caught. "I don't think I've ever been that terrified in my entire life." "Terrified of what?" "Of failing her. Of being the kind of father she deserves when I have no idea what that even looks like. My own father was—" Roman stopped, seemed to reconsider his words. "He was effective, powerful, respected. But warm? Loving? Those weren't in his vocabulary, and I learned from him, became like him. So what do I have to offer except a template for how to rule through fear?" "You have the awareness that fear isn't enough. That's more than some fathers ever achieve." "That's a pretty low bar." "Maybe, but it's a starting point." Lena sat in the chair beside him, close enough to touch, but maintaining distance. "You want to know what I think?" "Probably not, but tell me anyway." "I think you're going to make mistakes, lots of them. You're going to be too strict sometimes and too lenient others. You're going to say the wrong thing and miss important moments and struggle to balance your world with theirs. But I also think—" She paused, making sure she meant what she was about to say. "I think you're going to try harder than most men ever would, and I think that might be enough." Roman's eyes met hers, searching for something Lena wasn't sure she could provide. Forgiveness, maybe. Or permission. Or just understanding. "I loved you," he said quietly. 5 years ago. I loved you in a way I didn't think I was capable of. And when you disappeared, when I thought you'd betrayed me, it nearly destroyed me. Made me question everything I knew about myself, about trust, about whether I was even capable of normal human emotion." "Roman, let me finish, please." He waited until she nodded. "I spent 5 years believing love was a weakness, that emotional attachment was vulnerability, that the safest way to live was to never care about anyone too much. And then I walked into your cafe and saw them, saw you, and every wall I'd built came crashing down in about 30 seconds. That's not love. That's shock and biological imperative. Maybe, or maybe it's both. Maybe I'm capable of loving my children and still processing what the hell I feel about you. Maybe everything's complicated and messy and there's no clean answer." Lena wanted to argue, to maintain the emotional distance that had kept her safe for 5 years. But sitting here in firelight, watching this dangerous man cradle their sleeping daughter while admitting his own vulnerability, she found her defenses crumbling. "I don't know if I can love you again," she said honestly. "That person I was 5 years ago, she died the night I ran." The woman I am now is harder, more suspicious, less willing to trust declarations of feeling. I know. And I won't apologize for that. Won't pretend to be someone I'm not just to make this easier for you. I don't want you to. I want... Roman stopped, searching for words. I want a chance to know this version of you. The woman who raised 4 children alone. Who built a life from nothing. Who's strong enough to make impossible choices. That woman is someone worth knowing, worth, don't say loving, not yet. We're not there yet. Worth respecting then. Worth standing beside, worth protecting. I don't need protection. Everyone needs backup, even you, even me, especially when facing someone like Adrien. The mention of his brother brought reality crashing back. For a few minutes, they'd existed in a bubble where the past didn't matter and the future was uncertain but possible. Adrien's name punctured that bubble, letting in all the complications they'd temporarily forgotten. "What's your plan?" Lena asked. "To deal with him?" "I've had my most trusted people Adrien doesn't know about, can't touch, digging into his financial records, communications, movements from 5 years ago. They found discrepancies, payments to shell companies that trace back to Marcus Volkov, communications with Danny Ricci that stopped the day you disappeared, evidence of forgery training he received from a specialist in Europe 6 months before the execution order appeared. That's not enough to prove he orchestrated everything. No, but it's enough to raise questions, enough to make the captains doubt his loyalty, doubt his judgment." Roman's expression hardened into something calculating and cold. "In my world, doubt is deadly. Once your people start questioning you, start wondering if you're playing your own game, you're already finished. You just don't know it yet. So you're going to destroy him with rumors and suspicion? I'm going to destroy him with evidence. But the rumors will soften the ground first, make people receptive to the truth when it comes out. And if the truth isn't enough, if the captains choose Adrien anyway, then I walk away, burn the whole thing down on my way out if I have to. Salt the earth so thoroughly that neither Adrien nor anyone else can build an empire on the ashes." Roman's voice carried absolute certainty. "I won't let him win, won't let him profit from 5 years of lies and manipulation. But more than that, I won't let him threaten you or the children ever again. That's a war you might not survive." "I know. The children need a father who's alive, not a martyr who died fighting for honor or justice or revenge. They need a father who's willing to protect them at any cost, even if that cost is my own life." Lena wanted to argue, to point out the faulty logic, to explain that noble sacrifice was just another form of abandonment, but she saw the set of Roman's jaw, the determination in his eyes, and knew arguing would accomplish nothing. He'd made his choice, would pursue it with the single-minded focus that had built an empire. All she could do was prepare for the fallout. "When do you have to go back?" she asked quietly. 2 days. I need to be seen, need to maintain appearances, need to plant the seeds of doubt before Adrien realizes we're on to him." Roman's arms tightened around Bella again, reluctance clear in every line of his body. "I don't want to leave you here. Don't want to be apart from them. But this is what has to happen if you're going to end the threat." "Yes." 2 days, Lena said, making it a promise rather than a question. "We'll take 2 days, settle in, learn the land, make this place as secure as we can, and then you go do what you need to do." "And if I don't come back?" "Then the children and I disappear so completely that even the memory of us becomes a ghost story. We've done it before. We'll do it again." "That's not the reassurance I was looking for. I'm not here to reassure you, Roman. I'm here to survive, to keep our children safe. If that means mourning you and moving on, then that's what I'll do." Lena stood, needing distance from the intensity of this conversation. "But for what it's worth, I hope you come back. The kids deserve to know their father, deserve the chance to build something with you." "And you? What do you deserve?" The question stopped her at the doorway to the bedroom. She looked back at Roman, at this complicated man holding their daughter, and allowed herself a moment of complete honesty. "I deserve to stop running, to build something that lasts, to watch my children grow up without fear." She paused. "And maybe I deserve to find out if the man I loved 5 years ago still exists somewhere under all the walls and weapons and responsibilities. And if he does, Then maybe we get a second chance. But that's a maybe, Roman, not a promise. Not a guarantee. Just a possibility worth exploring if we both survive what's coming. Roman nodded slowly, accepting the boundary she'd drawn. I'll take a maybe. It's more than I had this morning. Lena left him there by the fire, holding Bella, staring into flames while processing futures that ranged from redemption to destruction. She checked on the other children, Raphael still awake, reading by flashlight, Caden and Celine already asleep, curled together for warmth and comfort. Her family, hers to protect, hers to raise, hers to keep safe through whatever storm was coming. But maybe, just maybe, not hers alone anymore. The thought should have terrified her. Instead, it felt almost like hope. The 2 days passed too quickly and not quickly enough. Roman taught the children things Lena had never imagined they'd need to know. How to read terrain, how to move quietly through forest, how to distinguish between dangerous sounds and natural ones. He was patient with them in ways that surprised her, answering Caden's endless questions with genuine thoughtfulness, praising Celine's observational skills, letting Raphael challenge him without taking offense, carrying Bella on his shoulders while she pointed out birds and clouds and anything else that caught her 4-year-old attention. Lena watched him become a father in real time, watched him stumble and recover and try again with a determination that was somehow both heartbreaking and admirable. He was terrible at bedtime stories, too focused on plot logistics, not enough on the emotional journey. He didn't understand why Bella needed her toast cut into triangles specifically, not squares. He forgot that Caden got anxious if routines changed too abruptly. But he learned, adapted, remembered for next time. And slowly, inevitably, the children began to trust him. On the second evening, as Roman prepared to leave, Raphael approached him with the careful formality of someone making an important decision. "I have something to say," Raphael announced. Roman set down the bag he'd been packing and gave Raphael his full attention. "I'm listening. I don't like you very much yet. I don't trust you completely, and I'm going to be watching to make sure you don't hurt my mom or my family." Raphael's chin lifted, his gray eyes, so much like Roman's, carrying fierce determination. "But I think you're trying to be a good dad, and I think that counts for something." "It does," Roman said quietly. "So when you go back to the city to deal with your brother, I need you to promise me something." "What?" "Come back alive. Because Bella's already calling you dad, and Celine draws pictures with you in them now, and even Caden asked me if we could keep you. And Raphael's voice wavered slightly. "I don't want to have to tell them their father died fighting a war we didn't even understand, so promise me you'll be smart, you'll be careful, you'll come back." Roman crouched down, bringing himself eye level with his eldest son. "I promise I will do everything in my power to come back to you, all of you. But Raphael, I also need you to promise me something." "What?" "If something happens to me, if I don't come back, you take care of your mother and your sisters and your brother. You're the oldest, the protector. I've seen how you position yourself between them and danger, how you think 3 steps ahead, how you're already becoming the man they'll need you to be." Roman's hand rested on Raphael's shoulder. "You're going to be fine, better than fine. You're going to be extraordinary, but you need to let me handle this fight. Can you do that?" Raphael considered this for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Okay, but you still have to come back." "I'll do my best. That's not a promise. It's the only honest answer I can give you. And I won't lie to you, Raphael. Not ever. You deserve better than comfortable lies." Raphael processed this with his characteristic seriousness, then surprised Roman by stepping forward and wrapping his arms around his father in a brief, fierce hug. "Be smart," he whispered. "Please." Roman's eyes closed, his arms coming up to hold his son with careful tenderness. "I will." When Raphael pulled away and returned to his siblings, Lena saw Roman's hands shaking, saw him take a moment to compose himself before he finished packing. They walked outside together, leaving the children inside where they couldn't hear. The Montana night was cold and clear, stars scattered across the sky like diamonds on velvet. Beautiful, isolated, safe. For now. "The secure phone is in the kitchen drawer," Roman said, going through the checklist one more time. "Check-in schedule is 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. every day. If I miss 2 consecutive check-ins, assume I'm compromised and execute the evacuation plan." I remember. The escape route runs northeast through the forest, 3 miles to a service road where I've left a vehicle under a tarp. Keys are magnetic locked under the rear bumper. Drive to the coordinates I gave you. There's a private airstrip, a pilot who owes me favors and doesn't ask questions. I remember, Roman. And if Adrien somehow finds this location before I deal with him, I know what to do. Lena touched his arm, stopping the recitation. You've prepared us for every contingency. You've given us tools and knowledge and options. You've done everything you can. Now you need to trust that we'll be okay. I don't want to leave you. I know, but you have to. Roman pulled her close, the embrace surprising them both. Lena stiffened initially, then allowed herself to relax into it, her head resting against his chest where she could hear his heartbeat, steady despite the circumstances. If something happens, he started, don't. Don't do the dramatic goodbye speech. Just promise me you'll be smart and careful and that you won't do anything stupidly heroic just to prove a point to your brother. That's asking a lot. I'm aware. Lena pulled back enough to look up at him. But I need you to understand something. Those children in there, they've already lost 5 years with their father. I won't let them lose the future because you prioritized revenge over survival. This isn't about revenge. Isn't it? At least partly? Roman's jaw clenched, but he didn't deny it. Adrien took 5 years from us. From me. He manipulated and lied and orchestrated a conspiracy that destroyed what we had. So yes, part of me wants him to pay for that. Wants him to understand what he cost us. But more than that, his eyes found hers in the starlight. More than that, I want him neutralized so you and the children can stop running. So we can build something real without looking over our shoulders. That's not revenge. That's protection. The line between those things is thinner than you think. Maybe. But it's the line I'm walking. Lena studied his face, memorizing the details in case this was the last time she saw him. The silver at his temples that had multiplied over 5 years of stress. The scar on his chin from some fight she'd never heard about. The eyes that could be cold as steel but softened when he looked at their children. Come back to us, she said quietly. However you have to do it. Whatever it costs. Just come back. I will. This time it sounded like a promise. Roman kissed her forehead, a gesture so tender and unexpected that Lena's breath caught, then walked to the SUV without looking back. She watched until the taillights disappeared into darkness, until the sound of the engine faded completely, until there was nothing left but silence and stars and the weight of waiting. Inside, the children had gathered by the window, watching their father leave. He'll come back, right? Bella asked, her small hand finding Lena's. He'll try his hardest to, Lena said, because honesty mattered more than false comfort. That's not the same as yes. No, baby, it's not, but it's the truth. And truth is what we have. The days that followed developed their own rhythm. Morning check-ins at 9 a.m., Roman's voice crackling through the secure phone, brief updates on his progress. The captains were listening. Evidence was mounting. Adrien was starting to feel the pressure, making mistakes, overreacting to perceived slights. The trap was being set. Evenings at 9 p.m. brought longer conversations. Roman asked about the children, what they'd done that day, what they'd learned, whether they were eating enough, sleeping well. He asked about Lena too, though those questions were more tentative, like he wasn't sure he had the right, but couldn't help himself. She found herself looking forward to those calls more than she wanted to admit. On the 5th day, Roman's morning check-in was terse. It's happening today. Adrien's called a meeting of all the captains. He's going to move against me. I can feel it. He's going to present his own evidence, try to force a vote on my leadership. Is that what you wanted? Lena asked, her heart hammering. It's the opening I needed. Gives me a platform to present my evidence in front of everyone. No private conversations, no room for manipulation. Everything out in the open. And if they choose him anyway? Then I've already arranged for our exit. Accounts emptied, documents secured, transportation ready. We'll be gone before they can regroup. Roman, I know, you're worried I'm going to do something stupidly heroic. I'm not. I'm going to play this smart. Use Adrien's arrogance against him. Let him think he's won right up until the moment I destroy him. That sounds like a plan with a lot of variables. Every plan has variables. This one just has higher stakes. A pause. If I don't call tonight, I know the protocol. Lena, He stopped, seeming to reconsider his words. Tell the children I'm proud of them. Tell Raphael he was right. Being a good dad does count for something. Tell them all that knowing them, even for this brief time, has been the best thing that ever happened to me. Tell them yourself, tonight, when you call. Right, tonight. But his voice carried doubt he couldn't quite hide. The call ended, leaving Lena staring at the phone, fighting the urge to call him back, to beg him to walk away from the confrontation, to choose survival over victory. But she didn't, because Roman was right. This had to end. One way or another. The day crawled past with agonizing slowness. Lena kept the children busy with lessons and chores and activities designed to distract them from their collective anxiety. But they weren't fooled. Even Bella sensed something was wrong, staying closer to Lena than usual, her small hand frequently reaching out to make sure her mother was still there. 9 p.m. came and went. No call. 9:30, 10, 11. Nothing. Lena stared at the phone, willing it to ring, bargaining with powers she didn't believe in. One more hour, just one more hour before she had to accept what silence meant. At 11:45, the phone finally rang. Lena grabbed it so fast she nearly dropped it. Roman? It's done. His voice was rough, exhausted, but alive. It's over. What happened? Adrien presented his case first. Had documents, testimony, financial records, all fabricated, but presented well. Made me look unstable, dangerous, emotionally compromised by my obsession with finding you. Half the captains were nodding along. I could see them calculating, wondering if maybe it was time for new leadership. But then I presented my evidence, the real execution order with the forgery markers highlighted, financial records showing Adrien's payments to Marcus and Danny, communications intercepts proving he'd been planning this for months before you disappeared. And the final piece? Roman's voice held grim satisfaction. A recording from the safe house. From the night Adrien came to see me. Every word he said, every admission, every threat, all captured on security cameras he didn't know existed. Lena's breath caught. You baited him. The whole safe house setup was a trap. I needed him to incriminate himself in a way that couldn't be denied or explained away. Needed the captains to see exactly who he was without the careful masks he wears. It worked. When they heard him admit to forging the execution order, to orchestrating your disappearance, to knowing about the children for 3 years. Roman paused. The room turned on him instantly. No debate, no discussion, just cold, immediate rejection. Where is he now? Exiled, stripped of his position, his resources, his protection. He has 48 hours to leave the country and never return. If he's seen anywhere near my territory after that, there's a standing order for his execution. You didn't kill him. Lena wasn't sure if she was relieved or disappointed. I wanted to. Stood there with my gun in my hand, watching him realize he'd lost everything, and wanted nothing more than to end it permanently. But Raphael's words kept echoing in my head. Come back alive, come back smart. And killing my own brother in front of the captains, no matter how justified, would have made me exactly what Adrien claimed I was. Unstable, ruled by emotion, dangerous. So you chose mercy. I chose survival, for all of us. Adrien alive and exiled is a problem contained. Adrien dead makes me a kinslayer, creates sympathy for him, raises questions about my judgment. Roman's voice softened. And more than that, I chose to be the kind of father my children could be proud of, the kind of man who values life over revenge, even when it's hard, even when every instinct screams for blood. Lena felt tears burning behind her eyes. The children will be glad to hear that. Are you? Glad? The question carried weight beyond the simple words. Was she glad Roman had chosen restraint over violence? Was she glad he was prioritizing their children over his own darker impulses? Was she glad he was becoming the man she'd hoped he could be? Yes, she said quietly. I'm glad, and I'm proud of you. That probably doesn't mean much, but it means everything. Roman's voice was rough with emotion he didn't bother hiding. I'll be there tomorrow, late afternoon probably. There are things I need to settle here first, organizational business, power transitions, making sure Adrien's exile is enforced. But then I'm coming home. Home. He'd called the Montana cabin home. "We'll be here," Lena promised. "Lena, one more thing." "What?" "I love you. I know it's too soon to say that again. I know you're not ready to hear it. I know we have months or maybe years of rebuilding trust ahead of us. But I need you to know what I felt 5 years ago. It never went away. It just went underground. Waiting. And now that I have you back, now that I know our children, I'm not wasting any more time pretending I don't feel what I feel." Lena closed her eyes, letting the words wash over her. 5 years ago, those words would have made her heart soar. Now, they terrified and tempted her in equal measure. "Ask me again in a month," she said finally, "after we've had time to figure out what this is, what we are, whether we can build something real from all this wreckage." "I can do a month. I can do however long it takes." "Then come home, Roman. Come home to your family." The next afternoon, Lena heard the vehicle approaching long before it came into view. She'd positioned herself on the porch, ostensibly reading but actually watching the tree line with the vigilance of someone who'd spent too long expecting threats. But this time, the approach brought relief instead of fear. Roman emerged from the SUV looking exhausted but lighter somehow, like he'd set down a weight he'd been carrying for years. The children rushed past Lena before she could stop them, Bella launching herself at Roman with complete trust, Raphael approaching more cautiously but still approaching, Celine and Caden flanking their siblings with matching expressions of tentative hope. "You came back," Bella said, her arms wrapped around Roman's neck. "I promised I would." Roman held her close, his eyes finding Lena over his daughter's shoulder. "I always keep my promises to my family." "Is the bad man gone?" Caden asked. "He's gone. He can't hurt us anymore." "Did you kill him?" Raphael's question was direct, unflinching. "No. I chose a different path, one that keeps me here with all of you instead of dealing with the consequences of revenge." Roman set Bella down, crouching to address all 4 children at eye level. "I want you to understand something. The world I come from, the world I've lived in for most of my life, it's violent, dangerous, built on power and fear and sometimes necessary cruelty. But it's not the world I want for you, for any of you, so I'm making changes." "What kind of changes?" Celine asked. "The kind that mean I can be your father without that life touching you. The kind that mean you can grow up safe, protected, but not trapped in the darkness I've navigated." Both Roman's eyes moved to Lena, seeking permission or understanding or both. "I'm stepping back from active leadership, turning operations over to people I trust, becoming more of an advisor, less of a hands-on leader. It'll take time. You don't just walk away from an organization overnight, but I'm starting the process." "Why?" Raphael's suspicion hadn't fully dissolved. "Because I don't want to miss another moment of your lives. Because I don't want to be the father who's always too busy with business to show up for what matters. Because you deserve better than the scraps of my attention." Roman stood, his hand resting on Raphael's shoulder. "I'm choosing you, all of you, over everything else." "That's a big choice," Caden observed. "It's the easiest choice I've ever made." Lena watched this exchange from the porch, her heart doing complicated things in her chest. This man, this dangerous, powerful, complicated man, was dismantling his empire for the chance to be present in his children's lives, was choosing bedtime stories over board meetings, was prioritizing their safety and normalcy over the power and influence he'd spent decades building. It was either the most romantic thing she'd ever witnessed or the most foolish. Possibly both. That evening, after the children were asleep, Lena and Roman sat on the porch watching stars emerge in the darkening sky. The silence between them was comfortable now, familiar, carrying the weight of shared history and uncertain futures. "What happens next?" Lena asked finally. "We figure it out as we go. I'll need to return to the city periodically. Transition takes time, and I can't abandon responsibilities overnight. But Montana becomes home base. This becomes where we build our lives. The children need school, structure, friends their own age. There's a small school in the town 40 miles from here. It's not much, but it's something. Or we could look at homeschooling, at least initially, give them time to adjust to having a father, to not running, to being normal kids for the first time in their lives. Normal feels like a foreign concept. For all of us. Roman's hand found hers in the darkness, his fingers threading through hers with careful deliberation. But we can learn it together, can't we? Lena looked at their joined hands, thinking about 5 years of running, 5 years of fear, 5 years of raising children alone while believing the man beside her wanted her dead, thinking about the lies that had torn them apart and the truth that had brought them back together, thinking about Raphael's growing trust, Bella's easy affection, Celine's hopeful sketches, Caden's careful questions, thinking about the possibility of building something from ashes. "We can try," she said finally. "No promises, no guarantees, just trying. Seeing if we can become the family we should have been all along. That's all I'm asking for, the chance to try. And if it doesn't work, if we discover we're too broken, too damaged, too different from who we were 5 years ago, then we figure out how to co-parent in a way that's healthy for the children. We remain civil, respectful, focused on their needs rather than our own feelings. We do the hard work of being adults even when it hurts." Roman's thumb traced circles on the back of her hand. "But Lena, I don't think we're broken. I think we're scarred, and there's a difference. Broken things can't hold weight. Scarred things have been tested and survived. We're survivors, both of us. That's a foundation worth building on." "You're very optimistic for someone whose brother just tried to destroy his life." "I'm optimistic because despite everything Adrien did, despite 5 years of separation and lies and pain, we're here, together, with 4 incredible children who somehow turned out amazing despite the circumstances. That's not luck. That's resilience, strength, maybe even destiny, if you believe in that sort of thing." "I don't believe in destiny. I believe in choices. And I'm choosing to give this a chance, to give us a chance. But slowly, Roman, carefully, with a lot of communication and probably some therapy and definitely some boundaries. I'll take slow and careful. I'll take whatever you're willing to give." They sat in comfortable silence, hands joined, watching stars wheel overhead. Inside the cabin, their children slept safely, perhaps for the first time in their lives, truly free from the fear that had defined their earliest years. Outside, the Montana wilderness stretched endlessly, isolating but also protecting, keeping the darkness of Roman's world at bay. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't the fairy tale ending where everything resolved cleanly and everyone lived happily ever after without complications. But it was real. It was theirs. And maybe that was enough. Over the following weeks, patterns emerged. Roman split his time between Montana and the city, gradually transferring power, restructuring the organization to function without his constant oversight. He missed some evenings, disappointed the children occasionally when business ran long. But he always came back, always called when he said he would, always kept his promises in ways that slowly, steadily built trust. Lena reopened her cafe, not in the city where Adrien had burned it down, but in the small Montana town, a modest space that served coffee and homemade pastries to locals and the occasional tourist. It wasn't the business she'd built before, but it was hers, and this time she didn't build it alone. Roman helped with renovations. The children decorated walls with artwork and chose paint colors and felt ownership in a way they'd never experienced. Raphael gradually softened toward his father, though he maintained healthy skepticism that Roman actually encouraged. Caden bonded over books and strategy games, finding in Roman a mind that matched his own analytical nature. Celine started drawing pictures that included Roman without prompting, incorporating him into their family portrait with increasing naturalness. And Bella simply loved, freely and completely, with the fearless trust of a child who knew instinctively that this man would protect her. 3 months after the confrontation with Adrien, Lena found Roman on the porch late one evening, staring at stars the way he often did when processing something heavy. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, settling beside him. "About how different my life is now compared to 3 months ago. About how I was empty then without even realizing it. About how full everything feels now, even the hard parts." Roman turned to face her. "And about how much I love you. How much I've always loved you. How much I'll continue loving you whether you're ready to love me back or not." "You said you'd wait a month before saying that again." "It's been 3 months." "So it has." Lena studied his face in the starlight, seeing not the crime boss or the dangerous man, but the father who'd read bedtime stories with improving skill, who'd learned to make heart-shaped pancakes because Bella requested them, who taught Raphael to play chess and lost graciously when his 9-year-old son beat him. Ask me. Ask you what? Ask me the question you've been wanting to ask since you walked into my cafe and turned my entire world upside down. Roman's breath caught. Lena Rossi, do you think you could ever love me again? Do you think we could build something real from everything that's broken between us? Do you think... She kissed him. Stopped the questions with action, pouring 5 years of grief and anger and hope and possibility into the contact. When she pulled back, his eyes were wide with surprise and something that looked almost like fear. I don't think I could love you again, she said quietly. I think I already do. I think I never stopped, even when I hated you, even when I was convinced you wanted me dead, even when every logical part of my brain said I should protect myself and the children and never let you close enough to hurt us again. Her hand found his face, fingers tracing the familiar lines. I love you, Roman DeLuca, and I'm terrified of what that means. But I'm choosing it anyway. Choosing us. Choosing to believe that we can build something stronger than what we had before. Lena, his voice broke on her name. But we're doing this right. Therapy, communication, clear boundaries about your work and our family. A timeline for your complete exit from active operations. Marriage counseling before there's even a marriage to counsel. All of it. The hard work of building a relationship that can survive reality, not just romantic ideals. Whatever you need, all of it. I'll do all of it. And if it gets hard, if we fight or disagree or hit rough patches where we wonder if we're making a mistake, then we work through it. Together. No running, no disappearing, no 5-year separations built on lies and assumptions. Roman pulled her closer, his forehead resting against hers. We stay and fight for this. For us. For them. We do the hard work because what we're building is worth it. Promise? Promise. This time when they kissed, it felt like a beginning rather than an ending. Like the first page of a new chapter rather than the conclusion of an old story. Inside the cabin, their children slept peacefully, unaware that their parents were rebuilding love from ashes on a Montana porch under endless stars. Unaware that the family they'd become, fractured and reformed and stronger for the breaking, was finally, truly, choosing to be whole. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges, setbacks, moments of doubt. Roman's past would cast shadows they'd have to navigate together. Lena's trauma would require patience and understanding. The children would need time and therapy and reassurance that this stability was real, permanent, safe. But they would face it together, as partners, as parents, as people who'd survived the worst and chosen each other anyway. Because that's what love was, in the end. Not the absence of difficulty, but the choice to face it together. Not the fairy tale, but the messy, complicated, beautiful reality of building something worth keeping. 5 years ago, Adrien had torn them apart with lies and manipulation, but he'd underestimated one crucial thing, the power of truth, once revealed, to heal what deception had broken. Lena Rossi and Roman DeLuca had lost 5 years to conspiracy and fear. They wouldn't lose another day. Not to threats, not to the past, not to anything except the deliberate, conscious, difficult work of becoming the family they were always meant to be. 4 children who no longer had to run. A woman who was no longer afraid. A man who'd chosen love over empire. From betrayal and ashes, they'd created something unbreakable. A family forged in war, tempered by truth, and finally, at peace.